Hey everyone, it's Adrienne here, and I wanted to pop on to say hello and share a few reflections with you today. It has been a while since I've been on social media to give a formal share as I am today. So just take a minute. I invite you to take a minute with me, just to take a breath. Feel into your body to notice the pace and the rhythm of your own breath, to feel your own life force, to connect with that. It might seem super simple, so much so that it's often dismissed. But this is a doorway into the present moment, which, as you may have heard, is the only place that we truly have any agency or power. When I live in the past, I am reenacting dead timelines that have no vitality or little vitality in them. When I look to the future, I have an imagined sense. And so it's super important because I'm doing it right here, right now, in this moment. And so, what am I planting in this moment? Am I planting fear and anxiety? Am I planting possibility and joy and connection and expansion? And when I'm unconscious or I'm caught up in a cultural trance, it's very difficult to create or generate anything new or more expansive for our future. So I wanted just to let you know that in attempts to support you, whoever's listening right now, and whoever comes upon this share today or whenever you come upon this, this is an invitation to, I believe what's going on in the world is to remember our own sovereignty and to claim that. And as an energy worker, as a healer, as somebody that works in the field of a shared space of group work, even if it's one on one, that there is an invisible cultural fascia or connective tissue. And it's in the unconsciousness of our assumptions, of beliefs, ideas that we've inherited, traditions, the cultural framework in which we're taught to view the world. And there's many layers of this that are happening right now. There is the structures that's created, and there's many lenses in which you can look at this, as I mentioned. But I want to look at it from a vertical axis of up down and a horizontal axis of right left. And this is the world of duality that many of us have been enculturated in. In fact, our identity is based on it. And this is where a lot of our wounding is. And for me, this is an issue of uh, efficiency, but not in a sense that we're being sold right now on the world stage by the US government. It is the efficient use and distribution of human energy. And part of this is this constant export of our vital energy given to outside forces like our government. And this is the up and down axis, where our power is seen outside of us in a representative in a head of state, etc. And this is what we're being asked to heal right now, is this wound of authority where either somebody in power in this institutional setting, where some people have access to levels of power. So it's not a denial that this exists, the acknowledgement that it exists. And then it's the consciousness that reinforces it over and over again on a daily basis. And so, yes, there are steps that we can, and I'd hate to use the word should, but can use to help shift the physical structure of it. And there's also a relationship to energy that's being asked to heal. And so many of us have had authority wounds where people have used their power in ways they haven't asked our consent or agreement. We've been intimidated or have not spoken up. And all of these models can be taken back at a very fundamental level to our parenting styles, where our emotions were dismissed, undercut, ignored, not because of any ill or bad intention, just part of our human evolution at this moment, where our awareness is expanding to notice that each individual is a sovereign being. And when we ignore an individual's say or experience, that is a form of repression and energetic distortion of the life force. And some people, depending on who you ask, can say, oh, everything that's happening right now that's affecting the entire global economic, political, social sphere is actually something that needed to happen. It didn't necessarily have to happen this way, but it is. And so now what? And so back to this axis of power of those at the top and those at the bottom, and that we're enculturated to use that relationship to power to also repress others or to dominate others or to repress their speaking if it's somehow out of alignment with my power. And so this psychological wounding that's related to power is so highlighted to the nth degree because of the history of the abuse of power. And so it is being so magnified. It's impossible, almost impossible for anyone to ignore, unless they just have their head in the sand, which could be a great survival strategy. So there's no judgment there. It's just noticing. And then there's this horizontal axis, excuse me, of left-right. And this is the relationship I share, say, with peers or friends or communities in which I'm supposed to be equal. And that this is another fabric that is being used to exclude, exile, name call, pressure people to join certain groups along the left and the right. There lacks a spaciousness and a listening and acceptance for everyone's experience as for the collective good. And so there's this extreme polarization for many, where blame, ridicule, fear. And so this is all a particular worldview based on duality thinking. And if anything, or in addition to what we're experiencing on so many different layers of our being, is the impossibility of continuing to live this way. And it's self-destructing. And if you ask me from my own meditation and my own work in self-reflection and my own spiritual evolution and growth, that this thread that goes from the US government and by proxy, the US citizens that have been funding this with our tax dollars is directly leading to what we see in the Palestinian genocide. And I have been very quiet about this for many reasons, which I won't go into now. Energetically, I was not in the place to speak about it until this time, until I am now. And I'm not an expert on this topic at all, but I have been spending a lots of time educating myself from lots of different sources. And if nothing else, it is a revelation to me to see that these are like two bookends to an age, ending of an age that used these axes of power. And I use this term with full awareness that these were the terms used in World War II, the Axis powers and the Allied powers. And the Axis powers were referred to as those that were opposing the Allied powers. And that were eventually that America helped overcome and end World War II. But it never ended because of what was happening with the displacement and reordering of an entire people. That was not resolved in any completion or resolved way. As we see what's happening now, it's a similar issue, except it's flipped. And I don't want to get into all the details of the politics right now, because I want to focus on the energetics of this. Last night, it was the full moon in Libra, and Libra, as you know or may not know, represents or symbolizes balance, justice. What happens when this four-pointed cross gets out of balance? There's going to be an adjustment. And sometimes that adjustment is almost unnoticeable. And sometimes, as you see, it's a shifting of the entire cultural fabric. And there is a intentional ripping of that fabric. And in past times, we may have had a more of a gradual change to where there's safety nets and supports put in to where people's safety, their ability to earn a living, to be safe in a body, isn't threatened, isn't called up for question, isn't there's no conversation about who is allowed to have civil rights and who is. And I don't want to get into the details of the politics right now. So what I do want to focus on is and as I say this, I realize that everything's political, right? Everything that's happening right now is affecting everyone on this planet. There is no disconnection from any of us. And if anything, maybe that's what people are beginning more and more to um, acknowledge, and that there's this unintended consequence, or plural consequences, that are happening that cannot be denied. That when you pull on one thread on one side of the globe, it pulls on the other end of the globe. And so this financial or political reset, or whatever you want to call it, is having clear, dynamic um, impact on many, many people in many, many ways. But what I want to focus on right now is this archetypal imagery that's been coming up on this axis of the Libra full moon. And right across from Libra on the astrological chart is Aries. So Aries is the I and Libra is the we. And in Aries right now, we have Chiron, which is the wounded healer. And this is the wounded self, the wounded sense of self. And in the US chart, it is in the Aries, and the wounded healer is in the sixth house, I believe. And the sixth house is service, it's daily schedules, it's the workings of institutions, of groups, of people, the social structures, how we offer and distribute our services to people, our daily schedules, all of the practical things ruled by Virgo. And in that case, health, wholeness, integrity. And so the sixth house is in this case opposite the 12th house, which is ruled by Pisces, which is the house of the visionary, the dreamer, the drug addict, the delusionist. It's marked by the two fish swimming different ways, different directions. And it's a fine line, this duality of Pisces. When does the vision of a utopian world turn into authoritarianism, for example? And this is the plane in which justice sets. But I mention this mostly because of some key words that have been popping up in public figures' pronouncements on what's happening to the United States and how it's affecting everyone else. So, in two different news reports, I have heard a terminology. It may have differed a little bit in each one, but to give you the bottom line, it is the unprecedented self-injury caused to a country. Speaking in regards to what's happening right now and the dismantling of the US government. This is the single-handedly most unseen or unprecedented self-injury to a country by itself, by a leader. It's not by itself, it's by a group of people, by a leader. And I think about that is in my energy field, um, immediately go to the wounded healer who could heal other people but could not heal himself. And this is in the house of Aries, which is the self, the idea of what a self is and how it is produced in our culture from the minute we're born. We are labeled by gender. We're labeled by our nationality, our birthplace. We are given a birth certificate that signifies the legitimacy of our birth and our place of birth. And it just goes on from there. The way that we are socialized, acculturated, given an identity, a personality, a name, a role, and the level in which this really narrows our sense of self and our sense of humanity and how we relate to ourselves. And ideally, in the past, I guess, the church, the spiritual practices that people have been given were meant to be a sanctuary outside of our political identity and cultural identity, where we could go and be seen as a soul, a spirit, something beyond a category, beyond a word, beyond a label. And what happens to the self when that sense of self becomes so restrictive that it begins to affect our ability to evolve and grow consciousness, and in regards to how we treat each other, how we treat our planet, how we are allowed to interact outside of our inherited axis of power and belonging. And so this has reminded me last night as I went to sing for the full moon at the Kirtan here in Portland at the Insight Meditation Center. It's a beautiful, beautiful gathering of souls singing devotional yogic mantras that have an energy, they have a momentum of devotion and connection to something outside of what our given culture might see as allowable. And so it's a sacred place of speaking into the truth that I know for myself of who I am, that is beyond words, that is a river of life force flowing and allows me to actively use my energy in a way that supports my own sovereignty and the sovereignty of those people around me. And when I say sovereignty, I am speaking of a unhooking of my energy to all of these political, cultural systems, not in an anarchist way, but in a way that allows creativity, that allows expansion, that allows for that which my mind or the mind itself can't even imagine, because the resolution to this energetic prison. When I say prison, I mean the jail cells in which people are allowed to live their lives in, and to where we've accepted what it means to be a self, even when it's endless and it's expansive and it's uncharted. And so it's a freeing of this life energy, and it's a claiming it, calling it back in service of life, not necessarily to an organization or a group of people in a traditional sense. But what happens when we start um, freeing all of this restricted energy that has been repressed because of existing structures that doesn't allow that won't allow for it, for many reasons. And this is bigger than political parties. This is bigger than governments. It is the birthright of all human beings. And this need to control it through oppressive laws and restrictions, and why that's even happening, instead of perhaps, say, a celebration, a welcoming, a acknowledgement of the gifts that it can bring in transforming the quality of life for people all over the planet. And as I was singing last night, these beautiful chants with these incredible people, my heart just opened, and tears ran down my cheeks. And to be honest, that's been happening all week, because it's beyond words. It's beyond what I can say. It's beyond what you can say. It is all that is. That's behind the words. It's behind the cultural fascia. It is the space in which the cultural fascia exists. And I guess that's why I've been so hesitant to even use my words to speak about it, because I see how incomplete they are to even begin to communicate the depth, uh, the aliveness that wants to be born through this seeming calamity on so many levels, that is painted with such that is expressing the darkest, deepest, worst parts, the echo of it through the halls of time. And maybe, of course, everything happens for a reason, and nothing's by accident that this is happening as it has to happen. It has to ring so loudly that people choose something else to play, that they are willing to open their heart to something new beyond what we've been given. And last night, as I sang and as tears rolled down my cheeks, I remembered Arjuna on the battlefield with Krishna. And the thing I love about yogic tradition and the Hindu pantheon of gods and goddesses is the self-reflective nature that every single aspect of humanity is portrayed in these in this group of gods and goddesses, including Arjuna, including Krishna, that we're on the battlefield and we're being asked to fight an impossible war. We're being asked to fight against our brethren, our family members, those that we love. And and Arjuna is asked, what does he want? He's granted one wish for support on this battlefield, and he asks for the accompaniment, Krishna, and Krishna is his guide. And the battlefield is happening inside of us. And this is the tenet of non-duality, that each person that we see, the petty tyrant, the arrogant mega maniac, are all parts of our own psyche. And they're being magnified to such a degree that we can't ignore them. And it's like, as many wise mystics have said, it's impossible to shave the mustache off the mirror. We have to attend to it with ourselves, with our own internal landscape, to face those aspects that look like they're happening out there on the battlefield. But the greatest battlefield is inside of us, with the misuse of energy, the misappropriation of vital life force energy that's being leaked out to the people, institutions around us that we've been enculturated to give it to. And so I ask you here today, if you're listening, if you're still listening, thank you for joining me today, for popping in to check in, to hear what I have to share with you. I've been holding myself back from saying much in a personal address, but this is my personal address to you, that the sooner that we create, discover, practice the tools to assemble our own inner congress, to appropriate our energetic funds. Am I going to invest in foreign wars? Am I going to get caught up in a cycle of unconsciousness with people that are asleep? Am I going to invest my energy in them? And this isn't a judgment. It's not a opportunity to believe or to think that anyone or anybody is higher or less or more valuable. It's just a choice about how I'm going to choose to use my inner resource, because at the end of the day, that's really the only thing that I have the veto power to say, to give. And yes, I continue to do my part in the world, to be of service, to show up in my local chapters of people that are wanting to invite balance and order and care and keep people safe in this physical world. And so I have two things to offer you. One, I just wanted to let you know that this Wednesday I am starting my energetic tool kit class. I originally was going to start it on the 2nd of April, but I pushed it back because I wanted some more time to share it with people. I wanted some time to prepare myself as well for it, and invite you to a remembrance of just how powerful you are, a remembrance of that your energy and how you use it matters, and that it is your sovereign place to do so. And I also have been thinking several times actually in the past couple weeks, but last night it got louder as I was meditating and singing at the kirtan last night, was that I would like to create a liberation meditation group. And I'm not sure exactly what day of the week. I'm thinking in the evening time around 6 or 6:30. But I want to find out if there's any interest in joining together and doing this together as a liberation practice. And the more people that gather together, the more the energy becomes amplified, and it can become really supportive and nurturing, fortifying for people to have a sense of shared community in your practice. Then again, there's a certain power also in independent individual meditation devotion, like showing up. But if you feel like you could really use some support and connection, I'm here. So let me know if that piques your interest. If you'd like to join, reach out to me, leave me a message, mention it in the comments, direct message me, let me know. And I think I'll leave it here for now, as it's a beautiful sunny day here in Portland and I want to get outside. So thank you again. If you stop by to take a listen, it's always good to connect. If you have any questions or comments, I'd love to hear from you. I apologize for the social media dinging in the back. I forgot to mute my computer and my phone. So I don't know. I don't know when I'll be back. It could be very soon and it could be a while. Until next time, please remember what a valuable treasure you are. And I'm sending you all my love and all of my care. And until next time, bye for now.